Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to my latest live stream. This is live stream number 24. Would you believe it? 24 live streams. And then I just pressed the wrong button for my lights. There we go. So yes, welcome. So today we're going to be continuing through the Boeing Starliner Propulsion Anomalies investigation report. We're going to pick up where we left off on Friday. And it should be all very exciting. So please comment below, let me know you can hear me, give me some feedback. And if you like, tell me where you're watching from. I always find it interesting where people are watching from. It's typically all over the world. So please comment below. And of course, if you've got any questions about this topic or you'd like to share some experience, then please comment below and I will bring it up on screen and we can talk about it. Just be aware there is about a 30-second to a minute delay depending on whether you're watching this live on LinkedIn, on YouTube, or even Facebook. And it looks like we've got live on all of those working, so that's good. Right, fantastic. So where did we go to? So let's get the slide on screen so we can see. There we go, it works. Look at that, amazing. I've got some audio. The levels seem to be going up and down. Right then, so where did we get to last time? So we finished section 6 and section 7, additional observations from the investigation team. So today we're going to continue with section 8, consolidated recommendations, on page 156. So let's jump down to where that is. There we go. Let's steal our little jigsaw piece. If you've been watching my other live streams, you'll notice this jigsaw piece. I use this all the time. It's such a helpful mental model. I highly recommend that you embed this in your brain because this will really help you try and use STAMP in whatever it is that you do. Okay, so section 8 is a few pages long. It's got some tables in it. It's quite long, but because they're large tables, we probably shouldn't take too long getting through them, but we shall see. As I say, I'll probably go for about an hour, 90 minutes, see where we get to, and then I'm running a second live stream on Wednesday and a third live stream on Friday, so we should make some good progress this week. Right then, so consolidated recommendations. Let's get this on the screen so it's big enough for you to read, whether you're watching this on your computer or your home TV or even on your smartphone. There we go. So consolidated recommendations, section 8. Below is the set of all recommendations from this investigation. So if we just take our little jigsaw piece and we imagine for a minute that, let's take this bit here. Let's imagine for a minute that this is our investigation. And they are providing some recommendations. There we go, recommendations. Pardon me. So they've done their investigation. They're going to provide a set of recommendations. And of course you might be wondering, oh, it's behind my head, sorry, there we go. So they are that's the investigation or the investigation team perhaps, or the investigation itself. And so they're providing some recommendations to the stakeholder that initiated the investigation. So is this NASA or is this, some other entity? Let's put in there investigation initiator. So whoever that is, whatever stakeholder that is. So they've asked the investigation team to do an investigation, and that was based upon some kind of investigation scope or statement of work, some description like that. And so the investigation team has done that work and they're providing recommendations to the investigation initiator. Now you might be screaming at your screen going, Simon, but hang on a minute. Is the investigation initiator, are they not the controller of the investigation? Are they not, the provision did they not provide a control action that specified the investigation scope? And so does the investigation team, do they actually provide feedback in the form of recommendations? And the answer is yes, it could. It depends how you want to model it. I've started to model this in the context of the investigation team doing some work and providing some recommendations. But of course, are recommendations control actions? Conceptually, is there a consideration of, well, if the investigation team says they recommend to do something, then the recipient of those recommendations sounds like it's up to them. It's their choice whether they do anything or not. So are they strictly control actions, or are they some other type of control action, some other type of interaction? And so you could redraw this quite simplistically, just like this. So the investigation team is at the bottom. You've got the investigation initiator at the top. That investigation initiator, whoever or whatever they are, maybe it's a process, maybe it's a procedure, they set the investigation scope, and the investigation team, they do their investigation and they provide recommendations, feedback to the investigation initiator. Now, is that investigation initiator somebody who has the power to fulfill those recommendations, or the power and authority to distribute those recommendations to other stakeholders in a form that they must comply, they must take action? And the reason I'm just showing you this is it might sound a bit academic. What I'm trying to do here is sort of stretch your minds in how you perceive things. Really question, your experience, your perspective, and really try and get some clarity on how you might draw the control structure. Because if we're talking about, from a safety management perspective, an investigation team doing an investigation and then passing recommendations to somebody who needs to do something, that kind of is a control loop. But is it really a control action? Is that the remit of the investigation team? If they say, hey, you need to do X, Y, Z, it's not a recommendation, this is an action that needs to take place, then, how does that affect the way we consider the control structure? And likewise, what about the investigation initiator? If they purposefully or ignorantly, for want of a better word, they don't realize that they constrain the scope and the resources of the investigation team, such as in this case, the investigation team were basically doing a full-time job and doing the investigation part-time on the side. Of course, that's going to have an implication for the investigation itself, the conduct of it, and how far it goes and how detailed it goes. But also those decisions are going to potentially impact the investigation team members themselves, which might undermine their effectiveness, their effectivity, perhaps even burn them out and cause them a lot of unnecessary stress. So I'm hoping you can see why I've done it both of these ways. None of these ways is wrong, none of these ways is right. This is just forcing you to think about, well, what is the hierarchy? What is the, who has the authority over what, over somebody else or some other stakeholder? So yeah, I just thought I'd share that just to get your brain juices flowing. Right, let's keep going. So we've got the investigation. Let's just make it a bit smaller so you can see it. There we go. So we've got a set of recommendations from the investigation. The investigation recommendations have been grouped to assist in delivery and assignment. Okay, so somebody else, by the sound of it, some other stakeholder delivers and assigns them. And this is shown in Table 1. All of the recommendations from throughout the investigation report can be found in Table 2. Okay, fantastic. All of the recommendations. So that's Table 2. And then the investigation recommendations have been grouped to assist in, and they're shown in Table 1. So they're grouped in Table 1, and then all the recommendations are captured in Table 2. Recommendations will be actioned by the chartering body of this investigation. There we go. So the chartering body, you could say, is this one. So chartering body. There we go. In fact, I could put that up there, couldn't I? I don't have to do that. There we go. chartering body, there we go, right, of this investigation, the Associate Administrator. So the Associate Administrator, Space Operations, Mission Directorate, all actions will be delivered and verified, closed by SOMD at DPMC. So they, it sounds like it is the Associate, can you see that? Let me zoom in a bit so you can see, there we go, Associate Administrator. And the other one is Space, oh, no, that's not what I meant to do. My fingers are too fast for my brain. There we go. Right, Space Operations Mission Directorate. And that's SOMD. There we go. So both of those stakeholders. So let's put them over there. Right, DPMC. What's DPMC, everybody? I can't remember. DPMC is not in the acronym list because, of course, it's not. Why would it be in the acronyms list? DPMC brackets. Let's see if that appears. There it is. Look at that. See, that's a smart way to find acronyms quick, isn't it? There we go. Directorate Program Manage Council. Really? Is it Program Management Council? No, okay. All right. So we've got the Associate Administrator, and then we've got the Space Operations Mission Directorate. There we go. Right then, so follow-up expectations. Table 2. Hang on a second. So it's the SOMD that are the ones that actions will be delivered and verified. So let's just put that to one side. Yeah, yeah, what am I doing? What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to recognize if the Space Operations Mission Directorate and Associate Administrator are the controller, then they are placing recommendations onto the program. So is this CCP, Starliner, Boeing, and the chartering body, recommendations will be actioned by the chartering body. So the chartering body is involved in that as well. So they make recommendations, or they might turn those into actions. There we go. So recommendations will be actioned by the chartering body. The Associate Administrator, yeah, all actions will be delivered and verified, closed by SOMD at our DPMC. Oh, so that's not an organisation. That is a Directorate Program Managed Council. So it's a council of stakeholders. Okay, fair enough. Right, so Table 2 assigns all recommendations to responsible organisations. So if we wanted to, check the content of our control structure, all of those organisations in that table should feature somewhere in our control structure model. And it may be that through a logical inspection, we might spot organisations that are apparently missing from that table and that logically should have some recommendations levied against them, especially if there's things like missing feedback. Okay, so the where is it? So all recommendations to responsible organisations, the organisation they report to, and if evaluation implementation of the recommendation is required prior to the next flight of Starliner. Where more than one responsible organisation is listed, these organisations should collaborate should be must collaborate. Let's be specific. Let's be focused. Must collaborate on responsible response where possible. It is understood different programs may necessitate unique responses and response timing. Actual definition, determination of forward path, resolution plan, etc. may be delegated as it is deemed necessary and appropriate by the responsible organisation. However, it is ultimately the duty of the responsible organisation to status when a recommendation has been implemented or provide sufficient rationale for not implementing. Okay, so being really pedantic, when we say provide sufficient rationale, who gets to decide whether it's sufficient rationale or not for not implementing? Because this is one of the things with STAMP and particularly STPA. When you're making I'm mixing terms. If with STAMP, STPA and CAST, if you've done a CAST analysis, accident analysis, and identified areas for improvement, you could use STPA to more specifically define those changes, those recommendations. And then, of course, if an organisation turns around and says, oh, well, we're not going to do that, you can then use STPA to assess their rationale and potentially pull holes in it, dig holes in it. Or they themselves could use STPA to show and demonstrate why they have sufficient rationale. So, it could be done both ways or all ways. Expected outcome, reduce risk to crew and mission objectives, improve certification confidence and anomaly closure, stronger NASA industry collaboration and accountability, scalable model for future commercial and exploration missions. Fantastic. Okay. Right, so this is table 1, as you can see there. So this is the consolidated recommendation categories. So let's have a look at this then. So we've got, let's have a look. So this is recommendation category. So we've got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, R, S. So there's quite a few categories. Then there's a recommendation summary. Then there is the expected outcome, the intent, the associated recommendations in table 2 below. So that's the next table. And then responsible organisation. So this column will be very, very important. There we go. Recommended response time. So that presumably is Starliner 1 launch, the next, next flight. And then crewed flight, long-term. Okay. Right, well, let's just do a quick control structure sanity check. So we've got CCP, which is the Crew Commercial Program. Not with an ME. There we go. Crew Commercial Program. So that's all of those. So crew commercial program, crew commercial program, crew commercial program, crew commercial program, CCP. Okay, yeah. Okay, so we've definitely got them in the control structure model. ISS. So I'm assuming that's International Space Station. Let's have a look at the acronym list. ISS, International Space Station. There we go. Look at that. But when it says International Space Station, does it mean the actual space station, or does it mean the organisation that's responsible for the design, operations and recovery of it? What are we actually talking about there? Let's be specific. So we've got the ISS, ISSP, so there's the program. So is that just a, what's the word? Is that just a consistency issue with the table, or is it that they are two distinct things that this table is talking about? There we go. ISS, ISS. Right, so next one, SOMD. We've got that over here. Let's steal that. There we go. So SOMD. Blah. Oh, there we go. SOMD, SOMD, SOMD. Okay. Right, well, so we've done that table. Let's move these over here. Right, Boeing, yeah, definitely going to be in there. Pardon me. Boeing. Oh, CCP, I missed that one. So Boeing. No, okay. Right, OSMA. Can anyone remember what that is? Type it in the chat so I don't have to keep looking for it. That would be really helpful. Right, let's have a look. OSMA. OSMA. Of course, it's not in there. Oh. OSMA, comma, sorry, brackets. No. No, 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 no. Come on, what is it? Right, let's have a dodgy Google. Let's see if Google does it. NASA OSMA. Search. Oh, Office of Safety and Mission Assurance. Look at that. So that was easy, wasn't it, everybody? That's if I trust Google search anymore, because it is getting a bit frustrating how ridiculous it's become. Anyway, so OSMA. OSMA is not listed. That's interesting. OSMA is mentioned once. I'm quite certain there's at least 3 or 4 distinct recommendations for that organisation. But again, OSMA is probably the main organisation, and some of these are organisations below it. So I've done those. Let's keep going this way. So OCE. What is OCE? OCE. What is OCE? Let's have a look. OCE is Office of the Chief Engineer. Yeah, fantastic. So that's this one. No, come on, Si, let's get it straight. There we go. OCE, 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 OP. Right, what's the next one? CPMO. CPMO. Right, what's CPMO, everybody? CPMO, CCPMO. CCC. Nope. Okay, it's not in there. CPMO. Right, let's put a brackets at the end, see if that comes up. And of course it doesn't. Right. So CPMO is mentioned 4 times. We don't know what it is. Right, let's CPMO. Let's see if Google works. Chief Program Management Office, apparently. So I'm taking it that I know that Google is saying this is the NASA Chief Management Office, and I believe that is the NASA Office of Safety and Mission Assurance. But is the Office of the Chief Engineer, is that a NASA entity? I think it is, but I don't have enough information right now to say with certainty, so I'm just not going to include the word NASA until later on, and we can get a bit of clarification. I mean, if you know, please give me some abuse in the comments. Let me know what you think it is. That'd be awesome. Right, CPMO. So I've done that. CPMO, just once. You see, again, that's interesting. One recommendation category related to CPMO. Because, I mean, from Livestream 21 and 22, I think, possibly 23, we absolutely talked about senior leadership at length, and there was loads of potential opportunities for recommendations, very specific recommendations if we were to use STPA. And so I shouldn't be surprised this list is a bit thin on the ground, because obviously they've not used STPA stamp or cast as part of this investigation. But imagine if you were to use that method, you could get some really specific recommendations for everybody. And of course, when you review the list of recommendations, you'll get a feel for how much, how those recommendations balance against what was perceived in the investigation of the control structure. And so if it's thin on the ground in certain areas where there were a lot of inadequate control issues, then of course that shows that you haven't got enough of the right recommendations. I know that's a bit advanced. That's a bit more than beginners will be able to pick out, but I hope you understand what I'm saying. CKO, everybody. What's CKO? Let's have a look. CKO. Oh, look at that. Chief Knowledge Officer. Again, that's an interesting title. Is that a NASA person? I think it is. But again, the Chief Knowledge Officer, my interpretation, and I don't know, but my impression is that that office, that position, is somebody who would help or work with the Office of Safety and Mission Assurance to make sure safety-related information and learning is distributed amongst the organisation. Or they would control how information is controlled and made available, accessibility for the programs, perhaps. I don't know, I'm guessing. That would be my impression. So the CKO is there. CKO is there as well. That's interesting. So that's 2. Right, ARMO. What does that mean? ARMO. Let's have a look. What's the acronym list say? Oh, look, there we go. Agency Risk Manage Officer. Interesting. Because I would imagine that is a key role that is involved in that, defining things at the outset for the program and then making sure the program is doing what it needs to do. And if there's any issues, then that person should be banging the drum and dealing with stuff. That's my interpretation. I don't know if that's what's actually involved. But it would be interesting it'd be interesting to have a table or a reference to a table, like a RACI chart or RACI chart, that defines responsibilities, accountabilities, consulted and informed, and what activities, what deliverables those stakeholders will be involved in, what they're responsible for, what they're accountable for. So ARMO is not there. So AA, what is AA? Associate Admin. Right, okay, so that's this one over here, isn't it? Associate Administrator, there we go, everybody. AA. It's not Alcoholics Anonymous. So AA, Associate Admin. No, stop it. Associate Administrator. So we'll stick that over there, just like that, and then we'll stick this over here on our list of things. There we go. So there's quite a big list of things there. So if you're building your control structure model and you haven't got at least those in it, you know your model needs to change. Model needs to improve. Right, AA, OP. Is that overpowered? What is OP? Let's have a look. Who's OP? Office of Procurement. Fantastic. Now, OP, Office of Procurement. There we go. Right, so we've got them. So there's only that one and this one. That's interesting, because I would suggest that they have some really important recommendations based on the conversations we had in the live stream the other day. Okay, so how many is that then? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 12. So 12 candidate controllers for inclusion in our control structure model. And that's just if you were to take any of your investigation reports, both past and present, and just have a look at the list of recommendations, and take the stakeholders that those recommendations are allocated to, stick them on a whiteboard like this, post-it notes or whatever, and just see how they relate to each other, how they actually, are they all in the leadership area or are they in the technical area? Whereabouts in the overall control structure do they exist? And what authority do they have? Are they all on the same level or are they on different levels? And have a think about, well, what are the logical control actions and feedback or interactions between these stakeholders? And then how do those recommendations relate to those interactions? Do they ask the stakeholder to provide the same or different control actions? Does it ask them to do something about their feedback? Does it influence their decision making or their process model, their mental models, their beliefs? What about interactions with others? What about the structure itself? So that can give you a quick and dirty audit of whether an investigation and its recommendations are any good. Because if there's any obvious gaps in that control structure or the way the recommendations appeal to the interactions, you know that the quality of the investigation and the generation of recommendations is questionable. And if you want help with that, send me a direct message or visit my website and send me a message via my website, and we can have a conversation about it. Because as I say, once you embed the STAMP principles in your brain, and especially this jigsaw piece that I keep banging on about, once you embed this in your brain, you're basically like Neo in the Matrix. You can see the code, you can manipulate space and time. It's fantastic. But with great power comes great responsibility. Okay, so let's just, that was 12, wasn't it? So let's make just a quick, so that's 12. There we go. Right, so table 2 then is this table here. So this is the full list of all final report, recommendations. Let's look at the titles. So this is the recommendation statement. So this is what the stakeholder must do. These are the responsible organisations. So you remember the RACI chart, RACI, I mentioned earlier on. So they are the responsible ones for this particular recommendation. The reporting organisation, I'm assuming that's who they need to report back to. And then the recommended response time is by when in the programme they need to report back. And I'm assuming that SL1 is Starliner 1 flight, so that's the next flight or the next major milestone. It would be nice to know. It'd be nice if there was a reference or some detail about that. Okay, so let's just have a look. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 18, 27, 30, 34, 40, 47, 54, and then some A's and B's. So what's that? 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62. So there's 62 recommendations there, which is quite a lot. Of recommendations there. But like if you watch the live streams I've done over the last periods of weeks and months, you'll probably pick out many more specific recommendations. And as I say, I need to, when I'm building this case study ready for our complimentary live workshop, I'm going to have to go back and have a look at what the suggested candidate recommendations are that I hinted at, and see how they fit in with this list. So there's potentially a lot of work there to do. But let's have a look at these then. So let's quickly look for the Boeing ones first. So Boeing, so that's 2 responsible organizations. So they're primarily responsible there. Boeing. So why is it do it like that then? Is it that CCP is primarily responsible and then ISSP and then Boeing tertiary? Or is it that they're all equally responsible and they need to coordinate together? Wouldn't it be nice if there was a summary table for that stakeholder? Anyway, personal preference, Simon. Anyway, here we go. Boeing. So hang on, let's just do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. Okay, that's interesting. Only 9. Only 9. That is not as many as I would have anticipated, but okay. Duplicate. Right, let's put 9 in there. We'll make it a nice yellow colour. There we go. Right. 999. Let's put it to Boeing, which is there. Right. So that's Boeing. In fact, I could take this all the way over here, couldn't I? And then there's not so far to travel. Right, so that's Boeing. Who's next? CCP. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 34, and I suppose you could say this one as well, but I'll leave that out in a minute. So we've got 34 for CCP. The reason I'm totting these numbers up is so I have a mental model and understanding broadly of what the overall landscape is. So how much has each of these stakeholders been told they need to do, and whether that sort of matches my impression from the content of the report and all of the other potential things we could pull out if we were to use STPA or CAST or both of those. So at the moment, I'm kind of like, yeah, well, of course, there's going to be a load of commercial program recommendations because they're a controller higher up in the control structure. So, of course, they're going to attract some important safety recommendations, but also those stakeholders lower down in the control structure, nearer to the operational and design of the spacecraft. I'd argue they should have some more specific recommendations as well. So that Boeing has only got 9. I'm kind of, well, hang on a minute. Is it not the contractor, the supplier, that should have, lots of recommendations for how they control their program and do testing and qualification and make decisions? Or or are those type of recommendations for the crew commercial program? I'm not entirely sure. Okay, so what's the next one then? So ENG. What is ENG? Is that engineering, or who is that? Who is ENG? ENG. It's not in the acronym list. Of course it's not. Arrgh. And of course it's part of lots of words like the word engineering, isn't it? Right, so I've moaned about this already on a previous live stream. When you're writing technical reports as detailed as this, it is critically important you have all your acronyms in the acronym list. And that you at least, whenever it's mentioned the first time, you at least spell it out somewhere, because it's just ridiculous. And I know, they were trying to do this alongside their full-time job. I get it. But whoever reviews and signs this off, you should have 2 reviews. You should have somebody who reviews a technical document to make sure it meets a minimum quality standard for a technical document. So things like spelling mistakes and, formatting and acronyms and all that kind of jazz and how to manage actions, that review, the administrative review, should capture that. And then everyone else does a technical content review. That's how it should be. That this has not happened, apparently, should be a recommendation in its own right. Anyway, I'll get off my high horse. So Eng, don't know who they are. So they're mentioned once. Presuming it's engineering of some description. Who's engineering? I'm not sure. Is it NASA engineering? Is it Boeing engineering? Is it the chief engineer office? I don't know. So yeah, so that's the only action allocated to them, which is interesting. So let's just have a read of this recommendation. When the thermal 11C model is complete, perform analysis and evaluation to validate the impact of guidance, navigation, and control changes made between OFT, what was it? Something for orbital flight test, number 2, and crew flight test, and verified that the do not pose additional risks to Starliner. Verify. Is this really? Is this really right? R.2. All right, I should be able to jump. So that's page 161. Right, there we go. R.2. Where is it? Where is it? Where's R.2? Right, so another recommendation I would make is whenever you use referencing in a Word document like this, use some square brackets or curved brackets, because then it makes it a lot easier to copy and find and replace, or find it jumping around. Because obviously hyperlinks don't work in Word documents or PDFs necessarily. But this should also be RO2, not R2. It should have a leading 0. Anyway, so how am I supposed to find R2? Is it earlier in the document? Where is it going to be, everybody? I shouldn't need to do a quality check on a technical report like this. I shouldn't need to be jumping around trying to figure it out. It should be very clear and self-explanatory. And I know the guys and girls were under extreme pressure. I completely get that. This is not a criticism of them. This is just, I suppose this is a criticism of all technical reports. We should all do better at writing technical reports. We should be disciplined. We should be skilled at doing this. Maybe there should be AI tools that maybe help us. There it is. Look, right. So, question, everybody: why can't I select that page? So, on the page before, I can select the text, but on this page, I can't. So that's why it's not searching, because this is not a text page. Right. So R2. CCP and Eng, pulse profile. Right. So why is this title? Why is this title not also in the recommendation list? Pulse profile, duty cycle, pulse width, duration. When Therm 11C is complete, perform analysis and evaluation to validate the impact of guidance, navigation, and control changes made between OF2 and CFT, and verify and verity. And verity, they did not pose additional risks to CFT Starliner. Okay. I think what's probably happened there is they probably sped through and written the body text and then not updated the table at the back. One of the things I recommend, and for safety related reports and doing investigation reports, there's a you could probably beat me up as a safety engineer. Come on, Si, you know about software safety. Are you really going to trust Microsoft tools and auto text features and fields to update properly when you print a document so that it's not missing safety related information. Let's just park that contradiction to one side. One of the ways I do this is I use auto text and field codes in Microsoft Word, and also the formatting features. So you can set styles and formatting. And so typically I will have a formatting style which will include a reference number style, which automatically counts up as you add things to it. And essentially you write your text, apply the style, and then inside your table or your body text, depending which way you want to do it, Word can automatically update the text. So you only change it in one place, and then wherever that text is anywhere else in your document, it will automatically update it. And if you have a list, a reference list, or a list of recommendations, you can use the table of contents feature to automatically update the list and reformat it. So you only have to change one part in the document and it will update wherever else it is. And then, of course, you can also insert the reference, insert the field code. So, for example, wherever recommendation 2 is mentioned, I would set up the styles so it had a recommendation number, which was square bracket, recommendation probably underscore 02, for example, instead of a full stop, and then a square bracket. And then wherever that, wherever that sentence, that paragraph that contains the text of the recommendation, wherever I want to reference it, I just insert reference to that paragraph, and it gives me the square brackets r underscore 02 brackets. If that makes sense. I also do that for referencing. When you're doing a lot of big technical documents, 3, 4, 500, 1,000 pages or more, you do need to get really good at managing your references and the formatting and styles, because otherwise you just end up becoming not a very good technical author trying to make Microsoft Word play. We're supposed to be engineers. We should be doing engineering, and the tool should help us do that and not get in our way. Anyway, if you want help with Microsoft Word, I can give you a few tips on that. Anyway, there we go. So that's where that comes from. Oh, the other thing I'd recommend is I would include a column. So include a column on the end, and that has page number in it. And then you can stick a hyperlink to that page number, and you can just click on it. It'll jump to where it is in the document. But that's just me. Of course, they're trying to do this fast. They're trying to do this alongside a permanent job. So we can't be surprised if the document is a bit, whiffy in this way. Anyway, right, next one. ISSP, everybody. Now I've moaned about Microsoft Word and how to write complex technical documents. ISSP 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pardon me. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 16, 16, okay, 16. Against ISSP. Where's ISSP? There it is. That's interesting as well. Because in the live stream we did the other day, I'm thinking that actually there's quite a few recommendations for ISSP, and especially how they interact with the crew commercial program. Because I would imagine that ISSP have a responsibility for the safety of the International Space Station and its crew, and overall potential for things like space debris and all that kind of exciting stuff. And so if you're going to launch a spacecraft that's going to interact with ISS, they're going to want some level of assurance, and maybe even do an independent safety audit of the spacecraft that's going to come and visit them. That's certainly, after this escapade, that's certainly, if they're not already doing that, I'd recommend they do that. And if they do that, then I recommend using STPA to dig into some of the big issues, such as trajectory control. or the generation of space debris if the spacecraft explodes or whatever. So yeah, right, next one. So we've done all of that. So, SOMD then. So, these are reporting organisations. So SOMD is the reporting organisation. AA, that's the associate administrator, isn't it? Let's just put them out the way down here. There we go. So they're the reporting organisation. And they have, let's change the colour of that. Let's make it pink. There we go. How many is that then? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, they've got a recommendation there. That's in. Oh, they got. There's a. Oh, I'm jumping ahead. Let me not jump around. Sorry, I'm getting excited here. Jumping around. Right. So SOMD. Right. Where's the pen? There it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 10, 10, 11, 12, 12. Right, so there's 12 recommendations related to it. But then it's also got to yeah, okay, let's keep going. So OSMA, what was OSMA? Is it something safety? 1, 2, interesting. There's only 2 so far. Oh, there we go. 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I was expecting more than that. And there is. There we go. Right. Right. Which one was it then? It was the safety, Boeing, not Boeing, NASA. There it is. NASA Office of Safety Mission Assurance. So yeah, they've got 6 recommendations. I'd anticipate a couple more, to be honest, based on the previous. Since Livestream 2021, I did a load in there, discussion about this at that level. Right, so OCE. So this is the Office of Chief Engineer. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not many. I would expect more than that. Let's say 5. There we go. 5. Right, next one then. What's the next one? So that one's done, that one's done, this one. CPMO. 1. 2. 2, just 2. That's interesting. I would expect more than that. Given the scale of the problems all over the place, I would anticipate they have way more recommendations than that, especially from an independent review and assurance perspective. And I'm not necessarily saying safety assurance. I'm saying conduct of the program, how the program was conducted and got us in this situation in the first place is more than just a safety issue. It is a how programs are managed. How is leadership allowed to behave like that? Why was that not addressed sooner? Because it has safety implications, but even if you don't have a crash or kill people, it still has a program implication. It could be delivered later. It could go over budget. It could all manner of different. And this is one of the benefits of STAMP, is that you don't necessarily have to just focus on safety risks or safety losses. You can focus on any loss that is relevant to the stakeholder. So it could just be that, it's late, or it's gone over budget, or there's been a security breach, or there's been an environmental issue. There could be all manner of different losses that stakeholders are interested in over and above safety. And one of the beauties of STAMP is it allows you to consider those things as well, not just safety hazards and losses, but much broader than that, if you so choose to do that. So yeah, I'm kind of surprised there's only well, I say surprised. I would suggest there's more than 2, and they're just not emphasised by this investigation the way it's been done. And again, that's not a criticism of individuals. I can appreciate the context and the challenges and the approach that they've taken. Right, so where were we? ARMO, that's the next one then. ARMO is mentioned once, going once, still going once, going once. Okay, that's interesting. So this is the ARMO, Agency Risk Management Officer, and there is one recommendation. Like I said earlier on, I find that quite surprising. I would suggest there's more than one, certainly. But again, I keep going around this circle again. Again, if you're using the stamp-based approach to do the investigation and then set recommendations, all I'm doing here is just having a quick look to get a feel for what the investigation output looks like, where it's allocated to in the notional control structure model, recognizing this list of candidates for inclusion in the control structure model. I think they should be included, but there may be other candidates that we've identified earlier that we need to add to this. And of course, the question then becomes, well, where are the recommendations for those candidates? Because the impression I'm getting is pretty much at every single level in the operations and design, development, test and qualification organisation have got inadequacies, levels of inadequate control for whatever reason. And so by extension, you kind of expect that at least all of those would have at least one recommendation, perhaps 2 or 3, given the type of inadequate control that they exhibited. And so that's why this one here and the Program Management Office only having 3 recommendations is a bit of a red flag to me. Okay, right, next one then, everybody. So AA, it's not Alcoholics Anonymous, is it? AA. 2AA. 3. 3. 333. And that is the Associate Administrator. Again, only 3 for that role, that position it does strike me as a bit odd. Because out of these stakeholders, who was the stakeholder that defined the commercial program, what do they call it, the contracts? Because whoever that was, if they're in this list, I think they are, but whoever that was, whoever that team was, should be in this list and should have at least 2 recommendations against them for how they created the contract in the first place and then how it should be changed for the future. And you could use STAMP and STPA to help do that review and then make those recommendations for change. Okay, so what's the next one then? Right, all. So that one is all. So that's everybody. Yeah, so that's an extra recommendation for everybody. I'll add that to the list in a minute. OP, we figured that out last time, so that's 2. 3. 3. So whoever OP is, there we go, Office of Procurement, they've got 2. And again, I think I'd anticipate they should have more than that, given the discussions we've already had in the last few live streams. So that's all of that. That's all of that. There's the all OP CKO, so that's 1. Pardon me. Yeah, so that's just 1. CKO 1. Right, so International Space Station, why is that missing from the list? I think it goes back to the point I made earlier on. When this list up here says ISS, they don't mean the space station itself, they mean the program. So this is a missing letter P. If I'm presuming it's a missing letter P if I was pedantic. Okay, right. So what else is there? All and all HSF programs. So that's it. That's 1. So this is human space flight programs, I believe. So how am I going to stick that in my list? I suppose this is all human space flight programs. HSF. There we go. And that's 1 recommendation. There we go. All right, so I've done that. Okay, that's all of them. So now we know. But then this bit that says all, communicate all updates via mandatory training for programs and stakeholders. And it says everyone needs to do that. I mean, that's quite interesting. Let's just think about that for a minute. So if we've got all of these stakeholders and they communicate all these updates via mandatory training for programs and stakeholders, and I think I've talked about this at length actually, is mandatory training actually an appropriate vehicle? And who gets to decide what the content is? So when setting recommendations, it is best to say what is required, not necessarily how it should be achieved, unless there's an important, reason why it needs to be achieved in a certain way. So recommendation 25 is for all. So I could just add rec 25 all. There we go. Let's put that in there for a bit of fun. There we go. So let's just have a look now then. So the reporting organisation is SOMD. So this is 1, 2, in fact, actually. No, that's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 32. So there's 32 of those that they're going to have to deal with. So that's a lot of extra work they're going to have to do. So they've got, not only have they got 12 recommendations to deal with, they've got 32 incoming recommendations to deal with. That's a lot of work. I hope they're resourced to be able to deal with all of that, in addition to their day job already. So this is... No, I could have just done that, couldn't I, Simon? There we go. So what are these then? Reporting. There we go. Right. So who else is there? AA, so that's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. So that's 28 for the AA to deal with, which is the associate administrator. So that every single one has got a reporting organization against it, except this one. Why has that one not got a reporting organization in there? Why is that? That's not right, surely. So the MMI is a plan, if I remember correctly. Let's have a look. MMI. Mission man, no. MMI, come on, what is MMI, everybody? We had this last time, didn't we? MMI. CCP MMI equivalent. Come on. MMI brackets. It's not in there, is it? It's in there. I know it is. I remember seeing it. It's in here. No, it's not. It's near there. Where is it? MMI. MMI. No, it's not in that one. No. Yeah, it is. It's there. I'm sure it is. MMI. So there. Yeah, CCP MMI equivalent. So what is MMI? I remember it. It's some kind of document, a plan of some description. No, okay. We don't know what it is. We still don't know what it is. What is an MMI? Creating him. Oh, that's the requirement, their recommendation there. What is an MMI? We still don't know what that is. I could have sworn it was a plan, mission management plan. Oh, no, it's mission management team. Yeah, so we found that last time, and then I promptly forgot we'd not solved it yet. Okay, right, let's go back down here then. So we don't know, this one is, why doesn't this have a reporting organization? The feedback loop is broken for this particular recommendation. Now, it could be that somebody's just not copied and pasted or typed in the box, and it could logically be AA. Totally get that. But we have to make sure the loop is closed. That's the point I'm trying to make. Okay. Oh, and this one as well. So that requirement 27, that is SOMD, and the column breaks across the table. There we go. That's another formatting thing for you. If you highlight the row, press right-click, table properties, do not allow the row to break across the page. That's always a handy one. Anyway, implement start action for burden of proof. So that's red as well. Why does that not have a closed loop? Pardon me. So all of those have closed loops, closed loops, closed loops. CCP, we've missed. CCP, right, okay. So that's one for CCP. So Boeing report back to the CCP. So this gives you an indication of what the hierarchy is with Boeing and the CCP. So logically, CCP is higher up in the hierarchy than Boeing in this context. So I'll come back to that in a second. Let's just keep checking. Yeah, so that's the last page. Right, so this one then, CCP. So there's one of those, and it's from Boeing. There we go. There we go. That's it. Okay, right. So we've done a survey of all the recommendations, and I've built a bit of a model in my head as to what sort of the state of the structure is, the sort of level of number and types of recommendations, and whether that sort of fits in with my anticipation, my expectation based on the last 23 live streams. I mean, just conclusion, just as a conclusion for all of this, I don't think there are enough of specific recommendations that are going to solve this problem. I'm not confident that these recommendations, if they're all implemented perfectly, I'm not confident that they will solve the fundamental issues that this case actually presents. Of course, if they were to use STPA and the principles of STAMP, I think they'd be able to, and CAS to find the issues, and then STPA to develop the understanding and make more specific recommendations. I think they could do really well. But at the moment, I've not got a warm feeling that this goes far enough. I'm sorry to say, but they've not used STAMP, so I can't really be too critical. They know not what they do, if you know what I mean. Right, so let's just have a look. Because in principle, we've already read these recommendations in the previous sections. So I don't sort of anticipate having to go through these again. In fact, I don't think I will. I think what I'll do is I'll continue into the next sections for the next few minutes or so and see where we get to, and then call a break, and then we can pick this up on Wednesday. So let's just mark that off then. Let's go back all the way up to the top to here. So we've done the consolidated recommendations. Let's so we're pretty much into the appendices now, and you'll notice that this the gap between here and here, that is like 104 pages. So that's another big chunk of stuff to do. But this section from here to here, that's like 50 pages. Okay, right. So let's have a look then. So the fault trees. So this is so there's two fault trees. There's one for the helium leak or leaks. It's a PDF file. It's very small. You can't really read it. You can't really make any sense from it, other than the colours and the redacted parts. There's some grey bits, some more redacted bits. So we can't really draw much conclusion from this. There is some orange bits as well. That's exciting. And then there is a key that explains it. So that's from an audience perspective, it's of limited use, and I can understand why it will be redacted and all that good stuff. But if you are going to put an investigation report out there, please make the appendices or the graphics readable, because it's not a good look. It's not helpful. And just to sort of emphasize, there are limitations with fault tree. It does focus on failures, and it usually omits things like software and human contributions, and of course behaviors as designed, where the system has behaved like it's supposed to behave, and that's resulted in a loss or an accident. Now, I can understand why they've used fault tree as part of the investigation, but I would, as I've said many times, I do recommend using CAST, STAMP, and then STPA as part of investigations such as this, because you can go so much further. But of course, you need people to be able to do that. And if you don't have people that are skilled, then give me a call and I'll come and give you a hand, train your teams, equip them with those capabilities, and coach and mentor them so that they are a high standard. So there is another one, another part of the fault tree, the helium one, that is readable. So source of leakage, blankety blank, blankety blank. So degradation, material compatibility, sizing, lubricants, tolerancing, flange build, fastener torque retention. Okay, pretty basic. So this is the service module reaction control system, fail off, fault tree. So again, you'll notice the language fail off. So that could be a system state that is labeled fail off, or it could be an indication of the mindset of the people writing this, that they're focusing on failures, not necessarily open to considering what I call dangerous successes. But I don't want to read into that too far because they've not used stamp, they're using a fault tree. Again, it's not really readable. Similar colours, probably the same colours, same language, but it is unreadable. I mean, yeah, so that's the fault trees. So let's mark off. We've done the fault trees, everybody. We've made fantastic progress today. Right, so we've got NASA Human Factors Appendix A. So this is 6 pages. There's quite a lot there to look at. I'm looking at the clock. It is 7:20 local, so I think maybe we should give this overlook this today and come back to it on Wednesday. But yeah, we are nearly there, everybody. We are getting very close now to finishing, which is fantastic because it's taken ages to do this. But I'm hoping that what I'm doing, especially sharing it on a live stream, warts and all, is giving you an appreciation for the power of these methods and the principles they're based on, and how it could possibly help you in the challenges that you have. So, of course, if you do have any questions or you need some help, please visit my website. I'll just quickly share that. Visit my website at whiteley-safety.co.uk. Click on this button in the middle. It says, I need help now. Just click on that and send me a message. Stick your name in there, stick your email, your mobile number, and what you want to talk about. We can set up a call. No obligation, just have a chat, help you to get some clarity, and then see how we can possibly help. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on the next live stream on Wednesday at the same time, 6 p.m. 6 p.m. UTC +1. Bring your friends, bring your colleagues, bring some refreshments, and your difficult questions. Thanks very much for watching. Good night.